Ms. Hames, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, Mr. Vecchia?
Here.
Mr. Capabianco?
Here.
Ms. Sullivan?
Here.
Ms. Callis? Here. Mr. Driscoll?
Here.
Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First on the agenda is public comment. Is there any public comment?
Just here about the renaming of the auditorium.
Sure. Do you want to state your name?
Sorry, my name is Michael Lombardo. I just really would be really excited to have the auditorium named after Neil Shapiro. He did so much for his students, and I think to bring that passion onto the next generation would be a tremendous addition to this community. And I just think it would make him proud and his students proud, and I think to pass that passion on to the next generation would be tremendous for this community.
Thank you.
Yep.
Is there any more public comment tonight?
I just wanted to, my name's Jennifer Hazlett. I'm a Winthrop High School alumni. I'm a drama alumni. I'm also an educator in Winthrop. I work at the Coleman Court Banks. And I just also wanted to reiterate what Michael said, who is Neil's stepson. Neil was my former teacher, my former director. He was an absolute testament to the field of education, to this town, to this community. He loved his students. He really brought passion into the arts here. I'm also a member of the Neil Shapiro 5K committee, where we raise money in Neil's name for arts departments within the town. And just looking at the amount of support that we've gotten, alumni and former friends and colleagues of Neil's who come out every year to support him. I really do believe having the new theater in the auditorium named in his memory would be such an honor and such a legacy. And it does sadden me a little that there are a generation of students who never got to know him, who never worked with him, but I do feel that to give this auditorium, this theater, his name would truly let his legacy live on, and it would give them an understanding of who he was. And he truly made a huge difference in my life here at Winthrop High. He really did shape my career here. He wasn't just a teacher, he was a mentor for a really awkward time in people's lives. He honestly was a very strong male figure to some people who didn't have that, a father figure. And he really gave 100% to this town and to the students here. So, and you can see, I'm sure, in the information that's been provided to you, a petition that was sent out by the 5K committee and some letters that you've gotten. I'm sure if you didn't know Neil, you probably got a sense of him from those. So I really hope that you consider naming the new facility after him. It really would be such an honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Yes.
Hi, my name is Mary Lou Osborne. I'm the chair of the Winthrop Town Scholarship Committee, and I'm here on behalf of naming the Learning Commons at the new school, the Norma and Paul Fasella Learning Commons. I sent a letter to the committee listing a bunch of details. A lot of people in the community are aware of the Fasella scholarships that were first given out, the big scholarships that were first given out last graduation day. But what a lot of people might not realize is that the Fasellas have been donating money, scholarships in the amounts of $5,000 to $10,000 every year since the 1990s. So this has been going on for a while, and after the Fasellas passed away, they bequeathed several $1 million to the town for these scholarships, and that's why they've increased so much. So I'm happy to talk to you more about it later, but
Thank you.
that's why I'm here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Osborne. Is there any other public comment? Okay, seeing no public comment, we'll move on to delegates and visitors. We have someone here from Project Wise.
We have two children from Project Wise. I'd like to bring them up, ladies. Come on over. I'm going to have them sit right next to you, Mr. President.
Okay.
You guys will take a seat. Let them know your name, your grade, why you're here, and all that exciting stuff.
Okay, so I'm Julia Dickinson and I'm in 6th grade.
And I'm Jamie Snow and I'm in 7th grade.
And we're here to talk about Project Wise, I guess.
and our experiences working with the groups that we were assigned to while we were there.
Yeah. Okay, so there were like 3 workshops you went to, and like the first one I had was like wiring phones together, and she had the same one for her third one. And like you had to like work with people from like different schools to like wire these 2 phones together.
Which took a long time
Yeah.
to put together.
Took longer than you think.
Yeah, I did basic engineering in general when I first did mine, and we were just going over how engineering can be put into everyday life, and we used we did infrared signal cameras, and we tracked how we put our hand on the wall and how it showed that it was still on the wall when we pulled our hand away, and we were seeing how you can use the different signals in the infrared to map out the different patterns that it shows on the wall.
And like my second workshop was about epidemiology, which I had never heard of before then. And then I learned that it was like about like widespread sicknesses. And the person who I had worked with foodborne illnesses, and we did like this little skit about how people at a wedding got sick from food, and we had to figure out what food it was that caused it to get sick, and what illness it was.
Emily Santos from 7th grade just joined us. So Emily, please can you tell us about your experience at Project Wise?
Yeah, so I had 3 workshops. I had epidemiology and 2 marine biology classes. And one marine biology classes was based on habitat, and the other one was endangered species.
So can I just interrupt for a second? Can I have Mr. Woods explain to you what Project WISE is, and then you'll understand what the exciting things that these students have been doing.
So Project WISE was started in the late 80s, actually, and it's a program over at Salem State University for 6th to 8th grade girls who are interested in careers in science and engineering, and that in fact is what the WISE stands for, is women.
It's very dramatic. All this.
Very wise. He's got the balloons coming into effect.
Background
The
music.
ducks coming into effect. I tell you, Mr. Woods, excellent presentation here.
Is Project WISE is Women in Science and Engineering, and it's a program that has been sponsored primarily for middle school age girls. Like I said, it started in 1989, and now, when it first started, there were about 100 girls in the first program. It now services over 400 girls. They expect to actually have over 500 this year, and the program goes with all school systems that are members of the Salem State Collaborative. We joined the Salem State Collaborative for professional development. We were a member years ago. We rejoined last year, and that gave us the opportunity to send these young ladies over to Salem State. We had some teachers who chaperoned for us for the day, and they had quite an experience. So that's what Project WISE is all about.
Awesome. How were you girls chosen to do this?
It was based on grades
I don't know what it
and
was based on.
how it, like, your interests in science and your career paths that you want to take in science.
Was it just the 3 of you from Winthrop?
Oh no, there were
No.
12 girls in all. 6
Yeah.
from 8th grade, 4 from 7th grade, and 2 from 6th grade.
Yeah. But there were 2 girls missing, so 2 girls didn't show up.
Didn't make it.
Yeah.
So would you highly recommend we continue this?
Yes.
Yeah. I think it's really important for girls to go. It empowers us.
An interesting, funny story on it, that we had run up against them. We almost had to cancel it because of lack of transportation. We had a big issue that was going on transportation, and then we were able to finally, at the last minute, make this happen, especially once I was told what was going to be canceled. So I'm glad that we were able to do it, and I think it's been a huge success, and you guys are the the spokespeople of it, and so we will continue to do it. If people have other questions.
Any questions for the girls? I think that's awesome.
Good
You guys
job.
think about going to be engineers when you grow up?
Yeah, it was a really good experience. I really treasure every moment I was there because it kind of introduced me more into the science, kind of engineering of it, and it was really just fun to be there.
Yeah, and I had lots of fun, and I did things that I never did in school before.
Yeah, I think it's important for like a lot of girls to go because it really, like, even girls that might not be interested in science at school, when you're there, it shows like so many different fields that you might have not even known existed. So it really like opens your mind up to science fields.
That's fantastic. Thank you for coming here and sharing your
Very good.
experiences.
Thank you so much.
Julia and Jamie and
Emily,
Emily, thank you. So,
thank you.
thank you. Next on the agenda, we have the Miller Fields Committee. They're going to give us a presentation about the new projects that they're working on.
So we have, why don't you guys, you know what? You guys come. Susan, we're gonna let these guys sit here and talk about it.
Are you giving the presentation, Mr. McKenna?
Mr. McKenna's gonna be part of it, but we're gonna
Okay.
have a bunch of folks here too as well.
Okay.
And I'm just going to stand.
Steve,
I'll
why don't you
just
take a
run these
seat there?
slides for you,
All right.
if that's okay.
Just Art's gonna have to speak. She right there. Sure, right there.
Can't see the screen.
Okay,
I can't.
I'll go next to
The
Jim.
wing it.
I'll come over here for this.
Do you want to introduce them, Mr.
Yes.
Sarah? Okay.
Jim, I'm gonna have you introduce everybody
Yeah,
on
I'm
it.
gonna do that, okay.
So what I will do is I will introduce to you our town manager, Mr. McKenna, and what I will say is that for quite about 2-3 months now, we've had a task force that's been working on Millerfield/Lewis Lake. And tonight's purpose is to come and speak to the school committee and inform them of where we're at and what we're doing, and look for the endorsement of the school committee to move forward to the town council, because we really want to see this project grow and be successful. So with that said, I'll turn it over to Mr. McKenna to begin, and he can introduce who's here.
Okay, thank you, Superintendent. I appreciate you entertaining us this evening, and hope that we can give you a full and comprehensive presentation on a lot of facts and issues that have been generated as a consequence of, I think, a very good complementary teamwork that has been done between the schools and the town and the task force. We are looking for your support tonight, and we are looking for also you to contemplate allowing us to have essentially jurisdiction over the area. You have jurisdiction over the area, and for a project to move forward, we need to have access to that jurisdiction and respect your domain in that, and ask for permission to basically continue this process going forward. We're at 75% design at this point in the task of looking at how to make improvements to Miller Field. And I'll leave to the experts the particulars of the integration between the Miller Field project and Lewis Lake. And there is a lot of why these two projects are interconnected. But before I get ahead of myself, I do want to thank Norm Hyatt for being here. He's on the Conservation Commission. He's been on our task force, bringing a very important element to our analysis. Steve Calla has been one of our leaders of the committee, and Art Leventis from Woodard and Curran, who's our chief engineer on the project, and they'll be making the bulk of the presentation. We also have Sean Driscoll, John Macero, Joseph Ferrara from the Winthrop Golf Club, Joe Demilovitz for grants purposes, and Vinnie Crossman from the School Building Assistance Committee, Richard Safuni, Public Facilities Manager, Matt Serino, Athletic Director, Matt Crombie, Winthrop High School Principal, Ron Vecchia, who's now joining us and participating, and as I mentioned, we are led by the engineering firm Woodard and Curran.
Can I just say one thing? Matt Serino would have been here, but he's with the lacrosse game over at Millerfield. And Matt Crombie is at the School Building Assistance Committee on our furniture, fixtures, and equipment meeting.
So while we're all spread very thin in Winthrop and wear many hats, we've been very much appreciative of everyone being involved in this project. You can see by the slate of names I just read that we've really touched upon many of the stakeholders who have a strong interest in this project, and have included a lot of voices in this process. So it's very, very open discussion thus far. We've been going about this a little longer than 3 months, probably I'd say closer to about a year that we've been meeting and developing our plans. We first brought our concepts to the council and have been vetted at the council at prior meetings. In December, we had a full discussion with the town council, in fact. And so we've been going through iterations of this project, really trying to get it right. And we believe we're at that point. Through a lot of consensus development and also through our engineering and learning a lot about what the site is all about, that really does play an important part as to what we're proposing tonight. And we're looking for an endorsement of the committee and asking for your permission to gain access officially to the site so that we can go ahead and start finishing up our permitting and can say to our permitting agencies, yes, we have site control of that facility such that we can move forward. The slide that says, why is this project needed? I hope is up there. But I can't see it. Okay. It almost goes without saying, but I think we need to sort of at least say it. Anyone that's been down there knows the condition of what we're dealing with there today. And I think, there's a strong understanding from all parts of Winthrop that this facility does not complement certainly the new middle school, high school that we've built, certainly, and is substandard in every respect, both in terms of its actual size as well as its conditions. The track is undersized and in poor condition. The field conditions are deplorable and very difficult to maintain going forward. We need to provide access for disabilities, and we're not doing that. Our bleachers are at the very point of having to be closed. If we are at a point where if we get inspected by the state, we feel strongly that they may suggest that we just put yellow tape up and shut them down. So any activity that's going forward, at least in the present condition of this facility, will have to be viewed at eye level. So you will not be able to sit in those bleachers going forward. Exterior and interior field house is in deplorable condition, and the press box is in poor condition as well. So all of the features of that site, demand that we pay attention to it. And so I'm going to turn things over to Steve Calla to talk about, the hopes and dreams of our committee and what we are proposing as a comprehensive reconstruction and redevelopment of the site.
Thanks, Jim. Project objective. So, as Jim's described, and as we all know, the field is deplorable. So we're looking to create a regulation-sized track and field with the synthetic turf. We're looking to construct a new field house with concession, restrooms, locker room facilities, and storage for sporting equipment and maintenance equipment. We're looking to install new bleachers both on the home and visitor side, which will be fully ADA compliant for handicap accessibility. To improve the track and field drainage, essentially provide a multi-use facility, and to ensure that we have site security, perimeter fencing as well as interior fencing to protect the athletes that are on the field. As important as this project is, where we're looking to construct it where the current field sits is very challenging. Groundwater levels are high. Site constraints, just getting the footprint of a regulation-sized track and field to sit on that parcel of land is going to have us encroaching a little bit on the golf course. We need to think about compensatory storage because we're encroaching on wetlands. We have high salinity in the groundwater, which becomes issues with foundations and conduits and underground utilities. Stormwater management, the new synthetic field requires pretty sophisticated drainage components to it, and we need to tie those drainage improvements into our Veterans Road Lewis Lake project, which the manager had touched upon, which is essentially why the two projects are so connected. One relies on the other. And permitting is extensive for this project, for both the Miller Field and the Veterans Road We're hoping to have permitting completed, by the end of August, if things go well. We do have to go in front of several agencies, and there is pretty substantial permitting requirements involved. So the existing conditions, we're all going to be pretty familiar with these pictures, I hope. Quick picture of the field house exterior. You can see the siding on the field house is deteriorated, falling off. Both entrances are not ADA compliant and also in need of repair as they sit. I don't know if you can kind of see that railing in the middle picture. It is steel railing that is essentially rotted through. Field house interior, we have damaged wallboard, outdated, non-functional fixtures, rotted floorboards. We also found, as part of our environmental assessment in the facility, we did find asbestos in the roofing material and the wallboard of the field house. It's a picture of the press box. Really is not a safe area. I wouldn't feel comfortable up there, and I've roofed for years, so it's just, we try to maintain the floorboards as best we can, but it's really almost beyond repair at this point. It is beyond repair at this point. Picture of the home bleachers, again, more rotted boards, fasteners that are just letting go because the wood just has no integrity. Some more pictures of the bleachers. Same thing, just a lot of damaged boards. The structure itself is past its useful life, and as part of that environmental assessment, we also did find lead paint on some of the support beams on both sets of bleachers. The away bleachers are probably worse than the home bleachers, if you can believe it, but at this point, I think we've actually condemned the visitors to visit
if I may
bleachers.
just speak. I met with Mr. Safuni this morning and with Mr. Serino, and we're actually boarding up the steps to the bleachers on the away side. Quite frankly, I'd like to take them down, but we want to see, if this project moves forward, to take them down and out. We will use just the home field side bleachers for now. And in just talking about the home side bleachers, we have replaced quite a bit of the boards, the panels, the wooden panels that go in throughout the bleachers. Over the course of 5 years, we seem to replace 20 to 30 a year, and I know we're going to replace another 20 before graduation because we want to make sure that everything is in good shape on that end. But the away side, we are blocking that off to not use at all, regardless.
Yeah. So the track and field. The track is unusable. I mean, you can't run on that track right now without risk of injury. You got weeds growing up through it. It's separating in sparse. The membrane, the material is just separating. We also did find, again, as part of the environmental assessment, some asbestos in portions of the sealant material of the track. So we have things that really do need to be addressed. What else do I want to say about the track?
I think we got it.
The track. So the field is. I want you to remember when this stadium was first installed, it was for the use of football. We're now using this field for lacrosse, soccer, football at all different levels, youth, middle school, high school. The field just can't keep up with the usage that we're putting on it, which is why we need to go to the synthetic turf. Also, the maintenance of the turf is of the natural turf is exorbitant. It's and we never catch up. Weather is constantly dictating when we can and cannot play games because of puddling and mud, and and when we can paint the lines on the field. So that's why we really think the synthetic turf is the way to go for what we need for Winthrop. So improvements at Miller Field. The new facility will allow Winthrop to host conference meets, something that I understand hasn't been done since the 90s, I think, for track, to be able to actually host it and have other teams come. The synthetic turf field will allow the field, as I explained, to be used for multiple sports events instead of just one single sport, which was what it was designed for. The synthetic track will be a 6-lane, 110 meters with 110 meter sprint lanes, so it'll be regulation size. It'll allow us to have conference meets. We're proposing a 600-person capacity home bleachers, fully ADA compliant for people with disabilities, and a 500 capacity away seating, which will also be fully ADA compliant for persons with disabilities. Proposing a 3,200 square foot field house, which we will show pictures of, a rendering of what the committee feels is the design that we would like for consideration. New lighting suitable for the multi-sport usage. Currently, again, because it was a football field, the lighting that is there is inadequate for the faster sports, the soccer and the lacrosse. And it's also outdated. It's probably the newest component of that field, and even myself, when I think about it, it seems fairly new, but they were done in the late 90s. So there'll be an upgrade, new fencing for security and crowd control. So there'll be an 8-foot perimeter fence all around the outside of the facility, and a 4-foot interior fence that will separate the people there in attendance with the athletes. So we'll have safety for the athletes during every game. There'll be an upgrade to the existing scoreboard, an upgrading to the existing sound system. We'll install a lighted walkway. Right now we have what we call the ditch, which is that dirt pathway between Cross Street and Veterans Road. The footprint of the new field is going to be enlarged, so that kind of going to get pushed towards the golf course. But we're going to install an asphalt walkway, which will follow the outline of the perimeter fencing, and it'll be fully lighted with LED lighting. The asphalt walkway will allow us, to keep up with snow removal, to run a snow blower or a machine down there, which right now it's dirt and gravel and difficult to do. We're proposing a new parking lot and tennis courts as part of the project. We can talk more about that. Essentially, where the existing tennis courts are now, we're proposing to create parking and shift those tennis courts down to Ingleside Park. So you'll have your full 4 courts down on Ingleside. The turf field will provide multiple uses. I touched upon this already, but high school and youth football at all levels, boys and girls soccer, boys and girls cross country, high school and youth boys and girls lacrosse. Lacrosse has really become popular, so these leagues are growing, and the amount of games seems to be multiplying. Boys and girls track, Special Olympics, be a great venue for graduation, fundraisers, potential for revenues with renting the facility out for conference meets and different events. Most importantly, it provides, in my mind, it provides Winthrop with comparable facilities to give our student athletes, what I feel that they deserve, and it just puts us in the caliber of surrounding communities. I mean, anywhere you go now, everybody's got these new athletic fields, synthetic turf, appropriate lighting, all the bells and whistles that we deserve, especially with an $80 million school sitting less than 150 feet away from it. some of the stuff is repetitive, but I'll go through it again. Installing the turf field.
You can skim it a little.
Yeah.
That would be all right.
Yeah, and it's really just the amount of sports and the amount of games played on it. It will really allow us, instead of having to reschedule because of weather. It gives us the high school's standards for regulation track and field, which we haven't had in a long, long time. Yeah. So safety and security, I touched on it. You'll have your perimeter fencing. We did sit with the police and fire chief for access points for ambulance and crowd control, being able to separate, home and away crowds, at the end of games when, during contentious games. But the police chief can tell you a lot more stories than I can, and feels that it is a necessary component, something to consider. So. Design and construction. You want to take this one?
Sure. Sure. So we're in the design phase now, as Jim mentioned earlier, about 75% complete. We're basically in phase 2 of the process. We started out in phase 1 to really look at the site and understand it from a feasibility perspective, whether it was actually possible to actually construct a synthetic turf field in this location, and do a lot of upfront work to determine what the existing site conditions are relative to the soil conditions, groundwater, if there are any materials on site that are going to need to be disposed of from an environmental perspective, and basically just to make sure that we understood what we were dealing with, and also to get a good understanding of what the construction costs could be, so that we can minimize any potential change orders in the future. What we did was we did some borings and installed some monitoring wells. We found that the site consists of pretty deep section of soft compressible soils and really, really high groundwater with high salinity content. What that means is it's a site that we're going to have to do a lot of work with just to be able to build upon. We have to get the field up to a certain elevation to be able to make the drainage work and meet the existing infrastructure. By doing that, we need to put soil on the existing ground. But from our feasibility stage, we understand that we can't just put normal soil on it because it weighs too much, and the soil that's there can't support the soil that we're going to fill on it. So if we filled it with normal soil, things would start to settle and sink, and we'd have problems with the new field. So it helped us understand that we have to bring in some really lighter weight materials and deal with groundwater elevations that are extremely high. So in some instances, they're just below grade. The lightweight fill that we need to bring in is costly, so it really increases the costs of construction. But knowing that now rather than later is, the town is in a much better stance. You don't want settlement on this type of a facility. It's not like a natural turf field. If it settles, it's not all that big of a deal. You can put some fill in here or there. We want to try to minimize settlement here because there are structures underneath the field that support drainage, and if the field settles, you'll have some raise in those structures, and they could end up being a hazard. As I said before, we're 75% complete on the design. We're working towards getting that up to about 95%. Right now, it looks like by the end of the month, or certainly by the middle of the next month, we'll be at that stage. We're already started the permitting process. There's several permits that need to occur. The first is a submission to MIPA. That's going to happen on May 16th is the filing deadline. That process takes about a month to a month and a half. From there, we submit a notice of intent to the Conservation Commission, and then go through some other some permit applications. We expect to be through that process if things go well, as Steve said earlier, by the end of August, possibly mid-September, which should put us on schedule for to bid the project in early to mid-October. And on that schedule, the project could theoretically begin construction in November, mid to late November.
One important component, we've consolidated our MIPA filing to include the Lewis Lake process so that MIPA reviews this comprehensively, so that we don't pay twice for the same review.
Right.
And that's not cheap, let me tell you. You know, with all due respect to my engineers, it's a very costly proposition to do 2 filings. Secondly, we've paid now through grant funds that we were able to obtain from the DCR to do the Lewis Lake and Veterans Road project for this engineering. So we funded it through outside resources thus far, which is a tax savings to the taxpayers of Winthrop. Thirdly, we are on a tight schedule because we've had an agreement with Northeast Metropolitan Vocational School to build our field house, which is an enormous labor cost savings to this community. And you'll see a rendering that they designed, and with students from Winthrop have had a hand in the design. And we met them, and it's really terrific. So they're instead of building a house, which is what Northeast Metro does every year, working with their students to build a house, they're going to build this. But they need to schedule it, and they need to plan for it and build it into their curriculums. So that's been a very big element of to why we need to move this forward now, because we can save the taxpayers a good piece of this project if we use the labor of the Northeast Metropolitan Vocational School to build the field house. So yeah, that's another reason why we've had to go with this time frame, and why we bring this forward now to ask for support. So I wanted to add those important footnotes to the presentation.
Thank you, Jim. So this is you want to do this or you want to? This is a rendering of the what the final field should look like when we're all done.
We thought it was very important to keep the Viking logo and the Viking name. I got 3 children still in school, and I showed them a picture of it, and the first thing that they said was, "Wow, is it really going to have the logos?" And it just builds I think it builds morale, and it gets the students excited. It's a home field, so.
That's the logo that will be on the in the gym wall, so we wanted to stay consistent.
And it's just a different rendering of the field itself. Could we go back to the other one for a second? Oh. Just to highlight some of the features here, the homestands are on the left side of the field here. It's about 600 capacity. Concession building is down in the top left corner there. The bottom left corner there. There's a shop put facility up at the top right corner. There's some emergency access up this path down here on the bottom right corner, which will give access to for ambulances and as needed.
The ambulance access is proposed to come in off of Veterans Road, as opposed to now the ambulance used to sit in the main entrance, which wasn't a great design.
No.
And then this is just a rendering of the exterior of the field house itself that the Vocational Technical High School designed.
We had another rendering that we have a picture of that looks very similar to the current high school, which works well. I know that Mr. Vecchio was looking at it in our Buildings and Grounds meeting. So we just don't have that on this one right here. So we can pass that around so people can take a look at that. Sure. One other thing I wanted to add too is that the Viking Longship 2 years ago had just completed their museum that they were building, their Viking house, but we couldn't put it up because we were moving. at the time, so we had to move it over to the field. And one of the things is we've talked about it now, and we're looking to try to put that in with Miller Field, so that might be where they come through to get tickets and go through it. And it'll really add the Viking touch to the whole complex. And there again, that's students who built that as well. And then coming through it, the Viking Longship has also proposed that they would like to do a wood carving of a Viking. So there's a lot of curriculum that we're building in within, whether it's the vocational or Winthrop High School as well. So.
And environmental concerns have really been addressed in this project. One of the things I've always had concerns about is the swales on Veterans Road and Cross Street, a natural breeding ground for mosquitoes. And what we're doing now is opening them up, getting those swales to move. With the new tide gate that's going to be installed, it's going to make a big difference in terms of the health around that area. You have children playing over there, and to have mosquitoes breeding right there is not healthy, let alone all the other questions that come up through conservation. But I think that everybody's addressed those pretty well.
And if I might add, some of those issues that they've talked about in regards to the current situations that may have contained asbestos or things like that, Mr. Safuni and I, along with Mikhail, have addressed those issues so that they will be, the field is safe as we move in while we continue to use it. So those issues have been addressed in regards to securing under the bleachers so that no one can go under there. As we talked about, we want to remove the other bleachers on the other side. There was a room in the field house that is the boiler room. We do not need it. We don't use it, so that has been closed off. And so any other areas that we're looking at, we will take care of those until this project is underway so that it permanently is gone.
Are there any questions for the group? Ms. Calla?
I have a couple of questions. The first one is about the tennis courts. It makes me a little bit sad to think that the tennis courts would be over in Ingleside and not outside of the school. They couldn't really be used then for gym classes because it would take too long to walk back and forth. The tennis team would have to walk back and forth. Is the parking necessary? Is there any chance that we can still have tennis courts that are close to the school so that the students can be using them?
Okay. So in regards to the tennis courts, the TSAC, which is the Transportation Safety Advisory Committee, has recommended that the tennis courts be moved and replaced there with a parking lot, only because there's so much activity that's going to be going on for high school, middle school, for the fields, the auditorium, and we have a lot more students in the neighborhood. But so we've looked at a couple of areas. We've actually looked quite a bit at the design of maybe moving the tennis courts across over by the golf area or over by the Little League field or over by other areas, and we haven't had success. I don't know if you want to add on to that, but you were dealing with it quite a bit.
Right. We've looked at putting it on several locations around the golf course. Unfortunately, some of the drainage improvements we need to do there it would conflict with. It's also, you're dealing with the same soil conditions there as you are with the field. It's going to increase the cost of constructing that because, again, you're going to put heavier weight material on something that can't support it. So you're going to have to counterbalance that in some way. It would be a decent amount of encroachment onto the golf course to put a similar size 4 tennis courts there. Right now, not the ideal, but the best location for it would be pretty much where kind of near where their maintenance shed is right now. And that's basically almost the last piece of storage that they would ever have. So we're trying to minimize as much as we can impacting that area. But even trying to put it there, it would really make us go back into redesigning all of the drainage that we've already designed in that area, and it's just not feasible.
I would add that just as a practical matter, you have a golf course that's actively used. It could be very difficult from a safety perspective when tennis players are on a tennis court and golf balls are flying by.
Right.
It's just not a safe environment for mixing other uses right there.
Mr. Hyatt, did you want to add something?
Yeah, one of the things that we're going to do or proposing to do is to redo the 2 courts that are at Ingleside
That was
in
my
addition to building the 2 new ones.
As well as a street hockey court, similar to what we got at Pico Park, or the new one that we just made down at Coughlin Park, similar footprint. In between that, the existing area where they're currently playing street hockey and the skate park. So, and there'll be, as Norm spoke to, it'll be a complete renovation of the existing courts there, and then two new ones. So you'll have 4 brand new tennis courts at that location, all in the same location, to be able to host tournaments and things of that nature. So it's not all that unsimilar to going to the hockey rink. The hockey team travels to the hockey rink to practice and play their games. So it is an inconvenience. It was nice having them right there, but as part of traffic safety advisory, we did feel it was necessary for that additional parking with this school project.
So the cost of the tennis court is included in.
We'll include it in the cost of Miller Field project.
All aspects of it, including renovating.
That's correct. Yes.
Good. Thanks.
Any other questions?
Yeah. When would you like to see this on the ballot for the voters to decide, and what would roughly the total cost be?
I put a question before the council in an email. We'll see if it gets taken up and voted on at the council's next meeting, but we're requesting the 3rd week in June, 3rd Tuesday in June, which I believe is the 21st, to have a vote on the debt exclusion ballot question that would ask to give us permission to raise the appropriate funds through bond indebtedness to pay for this. And it's roughly, well, we're still not out to bid, and so I know everyone wants to know what's it going to cost me, and we hope that we're being very conservative with our estimates, and we're building in contingencies, and we're doing all the things similar to our experiences with the building the middle high school. We learned a lot from that process. We've adopted a lot of those practices with this project, making sure that we have plenty of solid numbers with contingency built in and such. So all in all, it really depends on what the bids come in, what the final cost would be to the taxpayer, because we only charge what we spend. We're not going to indebt ourselves to more than what we need to spend. But estimates, rough estimates, are between $7.5 to $9 million, depending on where this project falls in terms of the bidding process. That, in turn, translates, if you do the math quickly, with regard to what the middle high school is costing taxpayers, roughly $5.25 in terms of the average household per year, $525, let's say, round numbers. This would be roughly $90 to $100, depending on what final cost.
And then just 2 more quick things, if I
You
can.
can finish up.
Any word on Massport at all? I know that was something we've talked about.
No, but I can answer one thing, that one of the things that we're looking at from the school building project is, are we going to have a savings? That is our goal. We were very hopeful that we're going to have a savings, and then if we do have a savings on that, then we would anticipate that if this project were to go through, that savings could go towards this project, which would then reduce that initial amount that's requested down.
Yeah.
And so we should have a really good understanding of where we're at by June.
And then just real quick, hearing that about Viking Longships was like music to my ears. I think that's a great project. I was in that class. I'd actually like to hear from those students. And that, having served in this committee for a little while but had to step off because of work obligations, I fully support this idea. I think the community should. I think it's a great investment. We're opening up a brand new school worth $80 million. It's just something we need to follow through with. I look forward to supporting this project as a member of the school committee and as an activist in the community. So I just want to thank you for the hard work tonight, and I hope the community rallies behind you guys as well.
Go ahead, Ms. Callis.
It sounds like you have thought a lot about the flooding and drainage issues. Since we just adopted the new flood maps and we can see that there's more and more storms coming, have you been able to anticipate how much when you're doing your calculations and you're figuring, are you anticipating that it's going to be more than it has been in the past?
We designed for a 100-year storm. We are raising that field approximately 3 feet. So
Okay.
we will significantly improve those, those bad storm events.
For the field drainage, we tried to be as conservative as we can, taking into account those kind of issues. And part of that is to get that field up to make it work with the existing drainage and improve the surrounding drainage to sort of mitigate some of the issues that are going on down there right now.
One thing that's happened with the Front Beach project is you don't have, as ugly as it is that you don't have the water coming over the wall and down the side streets the way they used to. And so it used to be that would go down and flood across Veterans Road onto Miller Field, onto the fields and the golf course. You don't have as much as that. We haven't seen that since the project's been completed. That's not to say that it should look like that, but at least it has been working.
I just would like to thank all of you for coming and being here, and I heard your presentation a few months ago to the council, and Mr. Cowell, you've done an excellent job both tonight and last time, and I think that the public deserves to hear your presentation, because you just do a great job, and you can tell, Art and Norm, that you've all been very inclusive and thought of each aspect. Does the permitting, it doesn't sound like it, but does the permitting rely on the vote to move anything forward?
Well, I wouldn't say it does, but I think they're looking for public support.
Right.
They want to know that their actions are going to bear fruit. And this is significant review that we're going to be under at considerable expense. We're at 75% design. It now begs for public involvement, public support, and that we can go to our public, state agencies and environmental agencies and say the public is behind this project. If that's an open question, I think the road may be a little rocky in terms of the permitting.
I think that the public is mostly behind it. Of course, everybody wants to know what it's going to cost. Has there been efforts to look for sponsors or other sorts
We've
of...
explored some grant opportunities, and they're there, and we'll continue to do so as this process unfolds. We've identified a couple of private entities, but the more we dig into those, the more we find out strings are attached to every dollar that you take. They want their logos involved in their sponsorships and responsibilities, and it's not as simple as people might think. Nor do we want to engage in a situation where we're going to tie the hands of future, school committees or students relative to what promotions they're putting on their shirts or anything like that. It's something that we're going to explore, but everyone wants a little bit of back when they give money.
I think that's important for the public to know as well, because I know that, there have been word of why can't JetBlue or New Balance just buy us a field, and so it's important to know that if they were offering that, why we would not take that up, them up on that.
But it's also important for them to know that they have an offer.
Yeah.
Or New Balance
True.
did not come to us yet
Not
to
just
say
for
that.
a rumor.
We would certainly listen.
But, you've heard those comments too, like, why aren't we just, getting a grant from them?
Yeah.
They built so-and-so's field or whatever, so it's good to educate people. Is there anything else, Mr. Perrin, Mr. Vecchia?
Oh, I got quickly up to speed last week when I joined the committee, and, they have done their homework. And I can remember the old, there was a commercial for a transmission company years ago. It says, pay me now or pay me later. We've been talking and talking and talking over the last 15 to 20 years about upgrading Miller's Field. And it just keeps getting worse and worse. And we're really doing a disservice to our kids for not giving them a quality place to use, and the community at large, as a matter of fact. So I would urge the committee to endorse, the process where they're at right now. They're looking for our endorsement, and I would like to see us, the school committee, endorse the whole project.
Yeah. Okay.
Mr. Perrin?
I was just going to say that looking out the window of that beautiful school, to see that dilapidated sports complex is just sad.
President Driscoll.
So the town council meeting is it's 2 weeks from last night, I think, so, tonight, actually. No, tomorrow
Tomorrow
night, sorry, whatever. And
26th.
26th. So we'll be taking this up at the town council. This will be something that we put on the agenda. It already was on the agenda, as everybody knows. It did not pass. I think when it didn't pass, I think people were thinking that, not enough information had gotten out to the community, and that's an important and integral component of this kind of a project. That was probably 2 months ago or something like that, and I think much work has been done by this committee, a really good job by this committee in terms of getting the word out, finishing up many of the studies and applications. I mean, it's come a long way in the last couple of months, and I think that I think we'll see how that goes at the town council meeting, but I think you guys have done a great job, and see what happens.
Mr. Capiano?
I think since we have all the information in front of us, I would like to make a motion that we support this process and move it on to the town council.
I'll second it.
Okay. Is there any discussion on the motion? And I know, Superintendent, you had your hand up before that,
That's
so
exactly what I was going to ask, if you could
anything?
consider that tonight, because that would help this committee be able to now fully take this under their control, to go to the town council, to make sure that this happens, and gives them the permission to do this job on this site from the school committee.
A point of information, giving them jurisdiction over the area so they could proceed. When the project is complete, the school committee gets back.
Yes.
Okay.
It's just like we did with the school building.
Okay. Just,
Thanks for the
Just-
clarification.
No tricks.
All right, so we have a motion to go ahead and move this forward to the town council in a second. Is that correct?
Yes.
Ms. Hames, will you call the roll?
Yes. Mr. Vecchia?
yes.
Mr. Capabianco?
Yes.
Ms. Callis?
Yes.
Mr. Perrin?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Excellent.
Appreciate your support.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're going to take a 5-minute break.
Yes.
Thank you.
Back to order here. Okay. If there's no issue, I would like to move new business naming of facilities, to up from, I'm going to do correspondence next, and I'd like to move the new business portion right after correspondence, if there's no concern about that. Okay. So under correspondence, we have letters of support for the Neil Shapiro, for the naming of the new high school auditorium to the Neil Shapiro Auditorium. And we have several signatures and letters of support. One from Captain Brian J. Fournier expressing his pride and support for naming it after Mr. Shapiro. We have another letter from the Andrina Silva and family, again expressing her love of Mr. Shapiro and the desire to have the auditorium named after him. And as well as the Neil Shapiro 5K committee, we have a letter again supporting naming the auditorium, which is all in your packets. We also have several signatures and comments, I think over 700 or so. I think Patty wrote that down. Pages and pages of comments in support, 731 in support of that. So
I think we said it.
there's just pages and pages, which is awesome. Great. Let me just get through it. I'm not reading every name. Apologize. And then next we have a letter regarding naming the Learning Commons after Norma and Paul Fasella. The letter is from the Winthrop Town Scholarship Committee, which is Tangi Safuni, Matt Crombie, John Dowd, Jim Fabiano, Monica Ford, Judy Hanlon, John Macero, Mary Lou Osborne, and Matt Serino. And again, in support, Paul and Norma Fasella have donated, as Ms. Osborne mentioned, lots of scholarship opportunity for several of our students at Winthrop High School, and we're very grateful to them for that, and they've supported us not just this past year with their funds, but over the last several years too. So thank you for that letter to the committee. And so I would, because we have representatives here who are curious and anxious to know what we're going to do, I would like to move that from new business to this point in time. Mr. Perrin?
Can I make a motion that we move forward with both the Neil Shapiro Auditorium request and the Facella Learning Center common request?
I'll second.
Excellent. Is there a discussion on the motion?
Just an amendment on the motion.
Would you like to take them separately?
Yeah, I think it'd be better if we take them separately.
Okay. Would you withdraw your second?
I'll withdraw the second.
And would you like to withdraw and want to change it first?
I'll make a motion on the Neil Shapiro Auditorium request.
Second.
Second.
Okay, and I'd just like to add the naming of the center. We would like to see, most of us, the Neil Shapiro Center of the Performing Arts as the actual naming of the auditorium.
Mr. Vecchia, would that include more space in the school besides the auditorium?
No, that would just be, if I may, Madam Chairperson.
Yep.
That would be the name outside of the auditorium. So the auditorium encompasses the performing arts, so it could be music performing, theater performance, quite a bit of performance. So as opposed to just being the Neil Shapiro Theater, it could be the Performing Arts Center, or in this case, the committee has requested it be said the Neil Shapiro Center of Performing Arts.
So that's what the sponsors are requesting?
Yes. Yes. That's what they're
The
requesting.
Neil Shapiro Center of Performing Arts?
Yes.
For performing arts. And if I may, Madam Chair,
Yes.
just because I want to just make sure we stick to the new policy, the policy that is in place, the current
Yes.
policy where it does say that they have to go through the superintendent to get that
Yes.
support, and of course, there's no doubt in my mind that I fully support this initiative. I've had the privilege of working with Neil Shapiro for many, many years, back in the 80s and in the 90s, and it was really a heartbreak to see him go so young. But Neil has done so much for this community and for our students, and it does not surprise me that you see a list of over 700 individuals that have reached out to acknowledge this. So I fully endorse the committee of Mr. Shapiro to name this, and I support their initiative.
Excellent. Okay, so we call a roll. Ms. Hames?
Yes. Mr. Vecchia?
Yes.
Mr. Capabianco?
Yes.
Ms. Callis? Yes. Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mr. Perrin?
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan?
Yes. Congratulations. All right. I will make a motion to name the Facella Learning Commons.
A second?
Is there any discussion on the motion? Thank you. Ms. Hames, would you call a roll?
Mr. Vecchia?
Yes.
Mr. Capabianco?
Yes.
Ms. Callis? Yes. Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mr. Perrin?
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan?
Yes. Okay, thank you. All right. Next on our agenda, we have approving the minutes of, I'm going to take these both separately because we had different members here. The minutes of March 21st, 2016. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
I had a question.
We can bring that up when the discussion.
Oh, got it.
So Mr. Vecchia makes a motion, Mr. Capabianco seconds. Is there a discussion on the minutes?
Yes.
Go ahead, Ms. Callis.
So I think this is the second page of the minutes under the subcommittees, athletic subcommittee. I just want to make sure that it says
Yeah, if you were to.
the last line before budget subcommittee, Mr. Holden stated we need to create athletic policies, including evaluations, and we'll start moving forward with the policy subcommittee. I thought he had said that the athletic subcommittee would suggest the policies, and then those would go to the policy subcommittee.
So
I wasn't
I
sure.
thought that's what I wrote, but how would
Okay.
you like me to change the wording? Because
Oh, okay.
start moving forward with the policy subcommittee. I mean, I can change, like,
okay.
they were gonna
Work
work on the
together.
policies and then move forward with the policy subcommittee. But
Okay.
if you want me to change the wording,
Okay.
I mean, I can
I
change
guess
it
if
to
we
whatever.
could say, I mean, I just didn't know and I wanted to make sure I was doing my job. I guess if we could say that the policy, the athletic subcommittee will recommend policies to the
Okay.
policy subcommittee.
Yep.
So should we make a motion for the changes to the minutes? Is that what we should do?
You can approve it with changes.
Okay. So, should we withdraw our first motions and then make a motion to approve with changes? To get technical?
I guess if you need to, I mean,
Okay.
you're approving it anyway with the
You're
changes.
gonna approve it with the changes, I
Okay,
believe.
so we will approve, a motion to approve the March 21st minutes with those changes.
Mhm.
Does everyone understand what the changes are? Yep, just wording. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Abstain.
Abstentions?
I also have to abstain, I was out of town for that training.
2 abstentions and the rest were yeses, right?
Yep.
Okay. And then our school committee meeting on April 2nd was actually a tour of the new middle high school. It was not a formal meeting like we're sitting together here, and some of us were present, and I would just like to thank Mr. Superintendent for putting that together with some of the town councilors. That was very nice, even though it was a Saturday morning.
In rain.
In the rain.
In the rain.
In the rain.
But it was great, and I think people are going to be very pleased at what they see. Lots of natural light and very modern, and really, it's going to be really sharp. So I'll make a motion to approve those minutes of April 2nd. Would someone,
Second?
you were there also? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And abstentions?
Abstain.
Abstain.
Nobody was opposed, correct? Okay, so we will approve those minutes as well. Okay. All right, next we have financial business procedures, the warrants. Warrant SVW 16-17 in the amount of $205,192.85. And we have a payroll warrant dated February 10th, 2016 in the amount of $622,844.32. Is there a motion?
Motion?
Motion by President Driscoll, second by Mr. Perrin. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. So if you guys want to just start signing those, I'll sign them at the end so we can keep the meeting going. Excellent. Buildings and grounds request. We have a request from the Winthrop High School Hall of Fame Committee in the induction ceremony, and that came with paperwork and payment, correct? The town clerk's office for the elections, Parks and Recreation for their summer program, Winthrop Youth Lacrosse for their lacrosse games. I'll make a motion to take them all together.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. They can have their times, their schedule. Curriculum. We're going to have Mr. Woods present on Looney Math and the health substance abuse concerns.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. If there's any preference, I can take it either way, but I'll just go with I'll start with the Looney
Yes,
Math
yes,
program. Just wanted to let you know that we've been meeting with the Math Committee. Math Committee is chaired by Mr. Harity at the Cummings School. We've been meeting regularly since the beginning of February, and one of the things that came out of the meeting was a need to get an assessment done of our instructions taking place at all 3 schools in the district. We're using a company called Looney Math Consulting. They've been doing some professional development for us in the district and also offer this type of service. The professional development's gone very, very well, and it's been very well received by our K1 and 2 teachers over at the Fort. And third as well. So we retained Looney Consulting to come in and do some evaluation of our current instruction. And they've done this with a series of, a combination of visits to classrooms where they're actually seeing what's going on and then giving feedback. And we've also done a survey of staff of exactly what's going on in classrooms, a survey. They did, the first two visits were on the 30th and 31st. The 30th, they were at the Gorman School all day. 31st, they were at the Cumming School all day. And it basically broke down to, I have a quick, I won't go through the whole schedule, but they do about a half an hour in one or two selected first grade classrooms, second grade classrooms. Then at the end of the day, they meet with a focus group and they talk about the whole school. Then they also talk with the administration about what they sort of found. So before they come back to the whole committee, they're just sort of touching base with the site-based leadership team. So that's been extremely helpful to this committee in finding out exactly what's going on. One of the things we went in with, the premise was, it was not necessarily a program deficiency, but it was more a teacher training deficiency. And this is just sort of reinforcing what we had thought as a district all along, and we've already made a commitment and have started moving forward with professional development, trying to get our elementary teachers from grades K through 5 as highly qualified in mathematics as they can be. And that's what we're using this consulting firm of Looney Consulting to do. The committee has all agreed that these conversations that we're bringing this math committee together have been long overdue, and we're now starting to feel a sense of vertical alignment amongst the schools. And we're actually seeing some real communication between the Gorman Fort Banks, the ATC, the middle school, and the high school. One of the things we've been doing also has been reviewing some scholarly articles. And a couple of very interesting things came out of those articles, and I will just mention a couple of those quickly. One of the ones came out of the Harvard Center for Education Policy Research, and it actually said that they highlighted, they singled out and highlighted the Go Math program as the most successful program for teaching Common Core math standards. And they went into, they actually talked some details about, how much of a percentage they saw as a difference. So it sort of reinforced that the program itself is solid. So why have we been having some difficulties with it? Again, we fall back on professional development for our staff, and then we also looked at, and we're in the current process of looking at, a realignment of exactly how and when we teach. When we became part of the 5-district partnership, we sort of made our math program fit their model. And we were taking, and we were pulling and picking and choosing things from Chapter 1 and some things from Chapter 3, and to hit their standards. Further research has actually shown, and I reached out to Houghton Mifflin, and I asked them to, if they could answer one question for me. I said, are districts in Massachusetts finding success with a more linear approach to the way you've written the curriculum, or are they finding more success by doing as we were doing? And the two responses I got, and I only read one, it says, we recommend going in order. We have placed the major work of the grade in our scope and sequence as much as reasonably possible and logically sequential for students. If a district wants to reorganize chapters, there's a sequence option page in the planning guide that shows which chapters have prerequisites. So in other words, they want you to know, if you're going to jump like that, make sure you're hitting the prerequisites, because the Go Math program builds on Chapter 1, and then Chapter 2 goes back and refocuses on 1 and reviews before it moves on. So we're actually starting to implement that now, and we're starting to get some vertical alignment with the Go Math program. That being said, that's basically where we're at with the Go Math and the Looney Consulting. We have them scheduled to do work next year at both the Gorman Fort Banks and the ATC school. They will come in and do full-day workshops with our teachers. I've sat in on some of the workshops. I've gone to Quincy to see some of their workshops. The feedback from the teachers so far, both ours and the ones I saw in Quincy, has been outstanding. Teachers they really, really like the fact that she takes the math and she goes from a very, very concrete, manipulative-based approach, and then moves it to a more abstract approach. And what we found now is our staff feels more comfortable in making their presentations. They're not just a one-trick pony anymore. You know, we always talk about that filing draw as you get experience in something, how that filing draw just keeps getting deeper and deeper. And our teachers now at the elementary school are feeling like they're getting the resources to actually present and teach in a more creative and different way. So that's where we stand with the Looney Math Consulting.
When are they coming to the high school?
They're coming to the high school on, I got that, April 26th. They're going to actually come and take a look at all our high school classrooms as well.
Because we want to make sure that where we're supposed to be at the end, we're getting there. How we're getting there throughout, even though they won't be working with our high school next year. We want to get that full.
Okay.
I did actually talk to Mr. Harity about a month ago, and he provided me with some documentation from the evaluation tool that he's using for math and his grade levels, and he provided me with some documentation that he's seeing a lot of improvement, especially with the 10 marks, especially with the Chromebooks, and he's able
Along those same lines, I went to Mr. Massaro last week, and I said to him, I said, do you think it makes sense if I start to reach out to, Houghton Mifflin is also, they own Scholastic. Most of these book companies you find, everybody owns everybody, but if I reached out and got a district-wide pricing on the SMI, the SRI, 10 marks, Lexia, and I have done that, and I'm just starting today to get some quotes back. Now, as we talked about, there's no guarantee they're going to say, oh, well, if you're going to do it in grades K to 8, then we're going to drastically reduce. But I said it was worth a shot to look at.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if we can look at it that way from a more district-wide level, then if pricing, even if pricing isn't better, we'd love to see it start at some point at all 3 schools moving up to the high school, so that we have this continuous program of 10 marks from K all the way through 8, and SRI and SMI, and we have that measured growth all the way up so we can keep track of our students.
One of the things that is working, that Mr. Harity has really put in, is the tools that he's using for intervention, which is 10 marks, Khan Academy, those types of tools, SMI. He is allowing for our students to see where our students are, and the homework that's being assigned to them is for what their needs are.
Right.
It's not, it's to what they need to master, as opposed to in our days when you got homework page 22, all the evens, or page 22, all the odds and stuff. No, all the work is geared that goes home now on these for the individual. And I think that's where we're going to start to see that improvement in building as we go along. So I'm very excited about seeing that. I had the opportunity last week to go into a teacher, they call it the Teacher and Learning Alliance, which is the TLA on the writing component. I was met with the 4th grade teachers who had the consultant there, and they were talking and stuff. And one of the things that I'm noticing that's really happening now is our teachers are becoming very comfortable about being honest and trusting about the curriculum. And when I say that, the comments that were coming out of that room were, I feel so much better now. I have a better understanding of what I need to find to have my kids do in writing. I feel more confident about it, and therefore I'm enjoying it, and my kids are enjoying it. And I thought to myself when I heard that, there's A, thank you for being honest, but B, here they're getting content knowledge. Our elementary teachers have always been generalists, but they were giving them more and more content knowledge that they need. So if we can do that in the writing, and we're doing that now in the math, we are going to see our students get the specialized treatment that they need.
I know that the teachers are just certainly on board with the individualized homework, and I know that it's making their jobs easier as well. And I think that we are going to see improvements in our PARCC scores this year.
Right, but what makes that easier for the teachers is the technology aspect.
Yes.
It's that part that allows the kids, they can assign it through technology, whereas it was more difficult years ago when you just had, okay, I got to decide which problem to do.
It was impossible.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Unless there's anything else about the math section.
Any questions about the math?
I just had a comment from going to these meetings. That there seem to be different perspectives on the 5-district partnership and whether we should be following that or whether we should be following the curriculum, which has been proven to work. So I hope that as teachers are getting more content knowledge, they'll feel more confident in their ability to follow the curriculum, but also like to make those kinds of decisions.
Well, that's what's happening. We're starting, like I said, one of the comments earlier was that the discussions are now becoming more robust because people actually have an opinion. They can back up their opinions, Mr. Massaro just said. They're becoming empowered. The other thing that I found really empowering was we happened to be just researching, how to present, and I found by chance the entire New York City, entire district teaches Go Math. And they had their whole scope and sequence and how they approach it, and I'm sure that the state of New York and the city of New York has probably put millions of dollars into the research that they do. So, it's kind of reinforced, and then that article from Harvard reinforced that this is the way to teach it. So we're kind of moving in that direction.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and then the second thing you wanted me to talk about tonight was the governor's new bill that he signed on March 14th, 2016, which was the omnibus substance abuse legislation on schools. Doing some research, I found this, for lack of a better word, an abstract that was put out by Murphy, Hess, Toomey, and Lehane. Now, they're not our attorneys, but they are very well-respected educational attorneys. It was online, it was a public document, so I decided this would be a really good document to include for the school committee to look at. And here we are, we're less than 1 month away. The bill was signed in March, and we're already discussing it as a school committee. I think that's you need applause for that. We're getting on board. Some of the things I highlighted in the third paragraph down, it says substance abuse and educational policies. As before, all public schools must have a policy regarding substance use and prevention and educating students about the dangers of substance use. I think this is a great opportunity for our policy subcommittee to make sure we review that policy and make sure that it is up to date and it is what we want. So if we can get that on the next agenda, I think that'd be very, very helpful. However, the Act now requires the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, DESE, to provide guidance on these policies and requires all school districts and charter schools to file these policies with DESE. So we now have to file, just like when I'm doing the civil rights breakdown, we have to file all of our policies that regards to civil rights. This is going to be the next one that's going to have to be filed with the state, and there'll be a follow-up audit, I'm quite sure. To be quite honest with you, this whole abstract is going to talk about a very futuristic approach to where this bill is headed. And all I can say to the committee 100% right now is that the Winthrop School Department is following as closely as we can the lead of the Department of Education. Because as you start to read through this, you're going to see things highlighted like the fourth paragraph, it says on the second line, until such direction issues from DESE, schools should await further guidance. Further down, it talks about in the fifth one, this substance abuse screening, which is at the heart of this bill. That all has yet to be determined by the legislature. And in working with the Department of Public Health and the legislature and the DESE, they're taking the lead on this, and they will tell the school districts how and when they want this done. As it says, by the 2017-18 school year, must utilize a verbal screening tool to screen pupils for substance abuse disorders. The DESE will approve of the screening tool in conjunction with the Department of Public Health. They're going to do 2 grade levels. It's my understanding those 2 grade levels will also be determined by the state of Massachusetts as to when you do it. I'm assuming it's probably going to be 1 middle school, 1 high school grade. It's the responsibility of the DESE to determine the grade levels. And then on the second page, it continues on and it keeps talking about, this is key. And this I hope doesn't happen because I think this is a very, very important bill. And I think that substance abuse and opiate abuse has become an epidemic in our state and our country right now. This line in the second top of the second paragraph frightens me a bit and says the Act states that this requirement for verbal substance abuse screenings is, quote, subject to appropriations in one part, and then it's, quote, required in another part. And we see this an awful lot in a lot of times when educational legislation comes down the pike, that it says this is going to be, funding is coming forth for this. And then, no, we want you to do it, but there's no funding coming forth for this. So if this is something that we, again, have to pick up as a school department, we'll honor it, we'll do the best we can. But again, that's just, it's an alarming, when you read it, it just kind of reeks of where it would head.
I think what you're going to see is that we move forward is that, because I know the legislation is talking about it very deeply with the mayors and the town managers of the communities, they want folks to start figuring out, towns, how are you going to start funding these types of ordeals?
And it's and again, this has led to discussions with the leadership about, well, where does the funding come from for some of these mandates that just seem to keep coming down the road,
Well, we definitely said in our last school committee meeting that if we don't think we're in the health business, we're certainly wrong about that. We're also in the public health business, whether we like it or not. Not just education.
I don't think that we can wait. The state, it took them 20 years to come up with this bill. I mean, this thing has been going on for 20 years, 25 years, this problem. And I think, you look back, when I was on the Board of Selectmen, they did a study within the school system, the same study that's going to happen again.
They do it, right?
And we know the problem is there. But what can we do? What are we doing within our school system? And I'm not saying just like Wellness Week, where we approach it and we have all these little discussions and so forth. We need something that's ongoing, not only in the high school, but it needs to start in the middle school. I mean, the facts are there. When you look at all the surveys they've done, it starts at that age. And I think, and I don't know exactly where we stand, how much do we teach our kids about substance abuse in our health courses? How much is there? Why don't we have ongoing, we used to do them when I was in school, we talked about it before, assemblies where we bring in groups to talk to kids. And it doesn't have to be something elaborate. There are so many groups out there that will come in for free. And they'll come into an assembly and they'll give a presentation. These are people that have been through it. And it's something that has an impact on the kids. They're at that level. The kids talk to them at a child's level so that they understand it, or a teenage level so they understand it. They don't go in and get preached to. They just talk about the facts, how easy it is to get hooked on this stuff. And most of them come in and they give, stories of how they got hooked on drugs. Family members come in, parents come in. We should do something when parents come into the schools for, when they come in to see how their kids' grades are. Get them down to the auditorium, give them a 20-minute surprise, scenario about what you should be looking for in your behavior of your children at home. Whether they're slacking off, whether all of a sudden they're not eating, or they don't want to do their homework, or they're staying in their rooms, and that kind of stuff. We need to do it, and a lot of it doesn't take a lot of money. It's just that we have to make a commitment to do it. And Tino and I have been talking about it. He's lost a couple of friends in the last, couple of weeks. I have been involved in it with my wife. She's constantly involved in it because she gets the phone calls and she tries to help people out that are going through this. I mean, it's really, it's got to be addressed. And I don't know if we need to form a subcommittee of the school committee to work with faculty to come up with something, but something's really got to be done.
Well, I think you're right, Mr. Vecchia. That does have an impact to have someone come in and tell their story, but we also have to make sure that our teachers and staff know what to look for on a daily basis.
Oh, absolutely.
And how to respond to it. And so we want to make sure that we're doing, what little professional development we have available, is that we are supporting our teachers to look for and how to intervene. I think you had your hand up, Mr. Barrett.
I did. I just want to reiterate what you said, is bringing people in to talk, because I went to one presentation. I think you were at it, actually. It was at the Kowloon with the area CASA.
Yep.
And they had a young man speak who had it all. Had a great family, had a great education, everything going his way. Talking about going to Disney World every year with his family. Everything was just, you had the idyllic life.
Yep.
And you say, if you don't think it can happen to you, it can, and it can happen in a perfect family, because that's what he communicated. So it's just amazing.
One other thing I just wanted to add you know, we've talked, the East Boston Neighborhood Health Center wants to come into the school, okay? Why don't we kind of negotiate something with them? Maybe they can pay for a trainer, pay for a health nurse, pay for a faculty member. You know, they want their foot in the door. They definitely want it. You can see that they really, really want to be. So why don't we try to step up and negotiate something that we can get something relative to substance abuse covered?
I think one of the things we need to look at too is, as a school department, we can do our part. But I really believe that this needs to be a bigger process than a school department process, because I think too many times people think the schools are the ones who can really step forward and do so much about drug education and overdose, and they're absolutely right. We are the source that sees them every day. But let's not ignore the fact that this is a town of Winthrop entirety. You know, I go back to when Peter Gill was the town. He used to always say, you know, the school department is one department that is part of the town of Winthrop, and I think it's really important that the fire department and the police department and public health and everyone else be part of this if we're going to talk about a subcommittee.
Right. Well, Frank, this is starting to happen in town. Yep. You know, we had CASA for the last 25 years. Mm-hmm. In the last 6 months, CASA, the health department, the health nurse, has done more in the last 6 months than what's been done in this town for the last 15 years, including the police department and the fire department. And that's why I say, and I agree with you 100%, it should be all-inclusive and the schools should be just a part of it.
Because the issue with the school part is that where you're seeing currently right now, the deaths and these opiate abuses and stuff, is primarily students that have graduated.
They're
at 25 to 35 to 40 years old who are having, you know, these issues. But we need to be able to make sure that there's a good education foundation there. And just to speak, I've been trying desperately for years to get a health teacher in at the middle school level, and it's just really hard to do that. Possibly your idea of the funding might be something.
Go ahead, Mr. Perrin, and then Mr. Capiano after that.
I guess what I'm thinking to myself as you talk about the different age levels, we are like the last safety net before these people are out and don't have that safety net. We're it, because once they leave the high school and graduate and they're out and they've lost their connections with their families, friends have abandoned them because of their drug addiction, this is it. This is when we have a chance to help and really intervene. After this, there is no safety net. And I really believe that's why we're losing a lot of these young people.
I just wanted to say, I feel like the last month, every time I go on Facebook once a week, there's someone, a teammate or a classmate, someone I haven't seen in a while, who passed away or has gone missing. I'm not going to say names, but one of which I played baseball with right here at Winthrop High School. He was a year or two younger than me. He got a scholarship to Salem State. He passed away over the summertime, and it kills me to say this, I really didn't see outrage in the community at that time. It was sort of quiet. This might be one of the most important things as a school committee we take up. We need to realize that the opiate crisis is real. It's killing our children. Prom season's coming up. Summertime's coming up. You go down to CASA for the opiate task force, you can't move. You can't get a seat. It's folks from all different types of life, folks that care about the community, farmer users. We're very fortunate to have Rep. DeLeo as the speaker, our state rep. He's part that drove this legislation in the House. I know that Sheriff Tompkins has a task force that's going out to get communities. The tools are there, and I think as school committee members, we need to step up and get something in the schools right away before the summer, even if it's just a presentation, as Ron suggested. It's something that has to be done right now, before prom, before the summertime. Because when summer happens, kids are experimenting and that sort of thing, which isn't good, but we need to say that this opiates, these hard stuff, this can kill you. You can get addicted. This will ruin your life. And I think that's something we need to lead on it and lead on it now.
I definitely think an all-hands-on-deck approach is best, and cooperating with the community, families, the town safety departments. But truly, we are the ones that see these kids every day, and
I attend every the CASA meetings.
Yep.
And when the school comes up, they all look at me, and I have to say to them, we understand what the problem is. we're gonna try to address it, you know? And I know we had Wellness Week was supposed to be this week, but had to be canceled because of the conflict with the campaign and so forth, or the election. But, you know, to me, it should be priority, top of the priority. And I would like to see an ongoing thing, not just every once in a while do a Wellness Week. And whatever you want me to do in terms of input to CASA that the school department is willing to do, just let me know. Because, you know, we've got the police there, the fire there, they're all at the meetings. Our health nurse is there, you know, from the town hall. And we're trying to address it. And, you know, CASA, I gotta take my hat off to them. When I was on the Board of Selectmen, we tried to do things, and we were criticized, because people would say, "Oh, you're bringing the town down, bringing up drugs and all that problem." They didn't want to do anything about it. And when CASA tried to do something, they wouldn't listen. Now we've got a police chief that's done a program, that has a program in place now. That's a model for the state, and he's getting all kinds of phone calls. I know they've done it up in something different up in Gloucester, and they've done something different down in Brockton. But the hands-on approach is just, the walls are going down. The people are not saying, not in that town, not in that town. Because by the police opening up and showing what they're doing, people are saying, this
It's a peer
really is
council.
problem.
Do you want to comment, Mr.
Well, I
Superintendent,
just
on
wanna-
what we are doing and
Well,
what direction you'd like to go?
I do know that we've done a lot of training right now with is it Oveus?
Yes.
And so our staff has been fully trained on that. We are building in next year advisory blocks at the high school, which we believe that's always been important, so that our kids have a chance to be able to communicate and talk about the things that are going on, because they have to build that trust factor up. The other thing, we've had great presentations over the course of a few years. We've had some great speakers, and I'll tell you, they have really hit to the core of some of our students who really have been able to come out and say, geez, thank you for that, really thank you for that support. So I think that you're correct. I was disappointed in the wellness that they couldn't do some of the things, but I don't think it should just be a wellness week. I think there should be something going on once a month that should incorporate the types of things that we do. We have a wellness committee that I'm not sure from who's sitting on it from the school committee at this point. Mary Alice Shockey sat on it for quite a while, so I don't know who's on that end. We are going to restructure our health curriculum for the next year to try to incorporate some of these things that we're moving forward on, so that we can get some type of knowledge out there and get an understanding for our students, so that they at least get the grasp of it. They don't fully understand the bigger picture. I've had the opportunity to sit in and listen and talk to the chief with this peer counseling program that he has, that they've put together in Winthrop, and it's an excellent program, and that we are going to be, in May, we will be meeting with students in regards to the bullying prevention and all of those types of ordeals, but we will also add some of this types, we also have to address our parents. Our parents need to be able to understand and communicate what is happening here, so that they see the signs, that they understand what's going on and what can happen on those things. So we're trying to put it together.
Okay, Mr. Capianza.
Yeah, I mean, everything that you said, I think was great. It's, definitely a long-term plan. But I think what's going on right now, over the last 2-3 weeks in the Winthrop, Bavaria, Boston area, we need something on the books scheduled in the high school and middle school by the end of the year, before prom. I know it's rushed, but if it's not on the books, I think that's something we have to do. And I don't know what our role would be.
Well, they're going to need it rescheduled.
We do have.
They're going to
have something on the books
coming
scheduled
in the wellness. They do have people that are coming in. That's why they schedule it all the time during this time of year.
Is there an assembly specifically in terms of opiates?
I mean, last year we.
No, I know that. I just want to make sure it's on enough.
Right, but we will make sure of that. We did the whole school last year in the gymnasium.
Yeah.
And we've been doing it yearly on those things. But I think that the middle school also needs to have some issues addressed as well.
Well, I'm sure that you have consulted, but Officer Armistead, I'm sure, would provide us with some feedback and the direction to go to make a more substantial program moving forward for all grades.
Has student council been involved with this, or is there any way we could loop them in?
I'd have to, I'm sure they have, but I would have Mr. Crombie here too.
'Cause I would love to see, I know students are very busy, but I think it would be great as a student representative on, the CASA opiate task force. I think that would.
I would ask
I
this,
think that
Mr.
would be
Vecchia.
amazing.
I don't get the notices on when those meetings are, so if you could make sure that I'm on that mailing list, I will have somebody be at those meetings.
Yep.
Maybe we could have it in the morning announcement.
Because I used to go to them when I heard on where they were at, so.
I'll put this back on the agenda for the May 9th meeting. So it will not be lost in the shuffle from our end.
And if we could, when they reschedule the wellness week, could they submit to the school committee a copy of this, the actual schedule of events each day and so forth?
Yep. And
thank you.
If we're present at as many events as we could go to, people won't see that. Thank you. We're going to move on to the superintendent report.
Okay, thank you. So, a couple of things, I took care of that. I don't know if any of you took a look at the Lynn item today, the front page of the Lynn item, but the front page of the Lynn item, it says, more superintendents are considering later times to start school. Just wanted to let you know that we were ahead of the game, so we're going to keep going on that area. We talked about, all right, so tonight there's a meeting that I'm not at. It's the school project building and on the furniture, fixtures and equipment. So we have a budget of 970 students times $1,800 that we're able to fund getting equipment and stuff. And so they are working on that right now. When I talk about furniture, I'm talking about new chairs, new desks, all of those types of things. And then when it comes to equipment, various departments, whether it's gymnasiums, music, technology, all of that. And so we are at that point of this project now where all of those things are coming together, because the third floor of the project is they're in what they call the punch list. So they do a 2-week period to take care of any issues that the designers have gone through and said that's not correct, that's not right, and then they complete that. So they will complete the third floor either by this Friday or the following Friday, and then they will be on to the second floor. So you can see that by June 30th, this building will be ready to turn over to the town. However, at July 1st, what starts on July 1st is then all the furniture and equipment comes in, and so that's why we need to get that up and running and ordering now. So I know that they're probably still at the other meeting, but they're getting that done. We're also right now currently, Winthrop is going under a coordinated program review for its English language learners, for special education, and for civil rights. This is a coordinated program review that's brought on every 6 years, comes into the district, and they've changed it quite a bit in the past. What they've done is they sent us to have us do a self-assessment on all of the areas that they were going to be reviewing, and making sure that if we're not in compliance with that, what are we looking to do to become in compliance with it? I am proud to tell you that they came here last week for an introductory meeting, and when the lady who came from the Department of Ed, she came in and we all introduced ourselves. The minute she heard Frank Woods' name, she looked at Frank Woods and said, "Oh, I'm so excited to see you, Mr. Woods." She said, "Because your civil rights documents that you put together for us is so outstanding that we are now using it as a role model for the rest of the state, for the school districts in the state." And I think that that's a huge applause on that, because we've come a long way in those particular areas where we've looked at our civil rights actions, and we brought in, Gene Hurdle as our consultant. But then Frank put together that document that they sent to us, and he put it in a good format that allows us to be in compliance and understanding of what needs to happen, as well as the special education, which Jennifer O'Connell is working on right now, and Kristen Creighton, who's working for the ELL, English Language Learners. The good news that I heard, and that was just an introductory meeting, was she said to me, Mr. Messeri should be very proud of your staff because they really have this under control. They know exactly what they're looking for. They've done an excellent job in self-assessing themselves. Now, I can't, that's why I'm glad I have what I have, those people doing those particular jobs, because sometimes the civil rights, the, ELL in districts can go on, people can just, oh yeah, somebody's doing that, or not, this is being done, or that's not being done. And so when we brought, Mr. Woods in for curriculum and instruction and accountability, that's part of the accountability, is making sure that those things are done, and it gets that stuff on so that we're in compliance with the state, and we're doing that. So the last week of April, they will be doing a full coordinated program review where they will be going to the schools, talking to some teachers, talking to administrators, making sure that not only do we have it all great on paper, but that our faculty and people know what they're doing about it. And so that's the other part of the coordinated program. So, moving on to next week, as you all know, is April vacation. Next Monday, we wish our chairperson much success in her marathon run. So, we are excited for you on that.
Thank you.
2 weeks ago, I got the privilege to go and watch our advanced band and our select band out at King Philip's Regional. They performed in the MICA competition. Our select band received a Medal of Honor, and our advanced band received a silver medal, so improving last year from a bronze medal to a silver medal. Extremely proud to see them. The kids are just so excited to perform, and if you've heard them from the beginning, in 2.5 years, a lot of credit goes to Mr. Sherwin for the great work that he's done with our students. Students you saw tonight who were speaking, majority of those students play instruments. I saw them perform in a play this past weekend, and they also dance. So, they're well-rounded individuals that are doing all of these things that make them, stronger academically. So we want to promote all of those areas, and so we're happy about that. Also, the high school chorus was the first time in many, many years, if not the first time, I can't get the historical part about that, but they performed in the MICA competition. We had 15 students, and they performed the next day out in Norwood High School, and it was just great to see Winthrop become a part of those arts that you're seeing. So we're moving in those directions as well, and I have to give great credit to Dr. Smith for the great work that he did in getting our students to challenge themselves in those particular areas. One of the things that we are looking at next year in music at high school is actually having an advanced placement course for high school students in that, for music theory. I talked about the school project, so I think that's where I'm at on superintendent's report at this time. I can go right into personnel. There's quite a few little things on that.
You can, I'm just looking at the time, and I'd like to make a motion to extend past our 2-hour rule.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Oh, good, now I can talk for another hour. All right.
I'd like to give us a 20-minute limit to this, but because I know that we have some important announcements for personnel, and I want to give people their time, but we do want to wrap it up too.
All right, so under appointments, I just wanted to let you know that under appointments, we have transferred Miss Andrea Sullivan from the William P. Gorman Fort Banks Preschool. She will now be the high school preschool teacher. We want to get that out there so people understand, because the high school preschool classroom will be 4-year-olds. And she's very excited to move to the high school, and so we're looking forward to getting that program up and running. And I believe we have an expert, who's going to handle that. So today we have, the recommendation has come down to appoint Jimmy Leary as the senior custodian at Winthrop High School Middle School. So we are looking forward to moving Jimmy up to that. Currently, Jimmy is the senior custodian at the Arthur T. Cummings School. Under resignations, unfortunately, I do have one resignation. We have, dear Mr. Crombie, I'm writing to let you know that I'll be resigning my position as a chemistry teacher at Winthrop High School at the end of the 15-16 academic to pursue a career in the medical field. Sincerely, Brandon Ito. I will tell you that is a huge loss for the Winthrop Public Schools. Mr. Ito is a phenomenal teacher. He was one of the first hires I was fortunate to have when I walked in the door back in 5 years ago. And he's going on to become a physician's assistant, so more power to him, and I applaud him for all the great work he's done, and I support his choice. But he is a huge loss. We have posted his position because we want to make sure that we get that strength that we've continuously have had with the chemistry department. In regards to some retirements, we do have 3 retirements. One came in today, so we did put it in here tonight. Dear John, please accept this letter as notification of my intent to retire. My retirement date will be as of July 5th, 2016. I have taught children for over 30 years and have loved working the past 17 years with the children and staff at the Gorman Fort Bank School. I'm also requesting to buy back my sick time that I've accumulated over those years. Thank you sincerely, Lorraine Resnick. So I want to, first of all, Lorraine has been an ESP for us. She has been the last 17 years at the Gorman Fort Bank School. Lorraine is an outstanding individual who's worked on behalf of our students daily, fully committed. We are certainly going to miss her leadership and her work. I wish her nothing but the best of luck, and I would ask that you grant her buyback.
Motion to approve the buyback, sick time buyback.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor of the motion to allow the buyback of sick time, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
The next retirement, dear Mr. Massero, please accept this letter as notification of my retirement. I write this letter with mixed emotions. Over the past 25 years, I've had the opportunity to work with so many hardworking, talented, and dedicated educators. I want to thank them for their support, commitment, and friendship. As I reflect on the many years of teaching, I only hope that I have been a positive influence in the lives of students that I have taught. Over the years, I've learned some very valuable lessons from my students. They have taught me the true meaning of honesty, trust, perseverance, and acceptance. I will take these lessons with me. It is now time for me to start a new chapter in my own life. At this time, I'm requesting to buy back the sick time I have accumulated. Sincerely yours, Karen Wyson. And she put down a very happy soon-to-be retired teacher. But Karen Wyson teaches first grade at the William P. Gorman School. Karen, one of the first opportunities I got to meet Karen was I actually went in and read to her students my first year here. And I thoroughly enjoyed her teaching style, her leadership with the students. Her students know her, they love her, and she's got a lot of experience and knowledge, and it's hard to let people go sometimes when they retire because they're taking that experience and knowledge with them. But I wish Karen the best, and I ask that you support her request on the buyback.
I'd like to just say about
Sure.
Mrs. Wyson that my daughter had Mrs. Wyson in first grade, and the remarkable thing about Mrs. Wyson is she wanted parents in her classroom to volunteer. And I was a parent who was able to volunteer in her classroom every week and sometimes twice a week. And it was kind of a joke that if you were a volunteer in Mrs. Weiss's classroom, she might kidnap you because you could be there all day. But she really wanted parent involvement, and I think she's a huge loss to the students, but I think that she's a huge loss as a mentor to new teachers. And she was a huge assistance to me personally when my daughter had a difficult time in first grade, and I can't thank you enough, Mrs. Wyson, and I will truly miss you, and our district will miss you, and thank you for your service all these years. And I will make a motion to approve the sick time buyback. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by President Driscoll. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
And the last retirement of the evening, after having been an employee of Winthrop Public Schools for 28 years and a language teacher at the high schools for over 25 years, I've decided to retire at the end of the school year. This decision was not easy, but one, I look forward to the next phase of my life and spending more time with my husband, our children, and grandchildren. Looking back, I can honestly say that my decision to become a teacher was absolutely the correct career choice. I've thoroughly enjoyed my time as a teacher and believe and hope that I have made positive impact on the lives of the many children that have passed through my classroom. Quite frankly, I will miss both the challenges that the children have made upon me and the rewards of seeing them grow into responsible young adults. I've also been fortunate to have worked alongside some very dedicated and caring professionals and support staff who have contributed to the success of our students and who have made my career and time rewarding as it has been. I wish you all, those who pass through the halls of the new school, much success. Best regards, Maria A. Roy. Maria Roy, world language teacher. And she didn't request it, but I would ask that you give her buyback. I would assume she has time on that too, on the letter. So if we could do that. But before that, I just want to say that I've known Maria quite some years. She taught my children world language. I've also had the opportunity to teach her children. I had her son that I directed in a play many, many years ago. He was my birdie in Bye Bye Birdie. But Maria's wonderful world language teacher, who very collaborative person in the building, constantly working to improve, and always pleasant, always happy to see people. And when I did talk to her the other day to wish her luck and sadness that we were going to lose her, she said that she was really looking forward to seeing and being with her grandchildren. And I think that that comes of age at times. So I wish Maria all the best.
Awesome.
I would like to make a motion that we approve Senora Roy's sick time buyback.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Vecchia. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
And last but not least, just on the postings, we did post chemistry, girls basketball, ESP. The ESP was just to replace someone this year. Kitchen worker, preschool, which we've already replaced, senior custodian we've replaced, and then the AP Cummings and the AP Middle. And that's it under personnel.
I would just like to say that the information about Mr. Superintendent has been made public, that he has, and he is in a process for a new position, and I just wanted to let everyone know, the school department, school committee, parents and families, that Mr. Superintendent and I had a discussion, and we have not crossed the bridge yet that he's leaving, and he is 100% dedicated to completing his job daily while he is here, and we can continue to accept and expect his support every day until anything changes.
Correct.
Under new business, we have student fundraising activities policy and the student activities fee policy. This is coming up because we noticed a discrepancy in our procedure and in the policy. And if I can dig down and find that.
That's right, I have them if you want them.
Sure,
I
if
can
you
bring
don't mind
them
running
to
them
you.
over. I'm sure they're in this pile. Basically, the fundraising, I have that here, but I'll take yours. The fundraising policy, so we have been approving all student fundraising requests. The policy for student fundraising activities does not state that they need approval by the school committee. It basically says they need approval by the principal, and in some cases, the superintendent. So I would like to make a motion to forward that to the policy subcommittee for review, as well as at this time have the school committee stop receiving requests for all student fundraisers. If the principal and superintendent have questions about the fundraisers, they can certainly forward that to the school committee, but at this time I would like to follow the current policy and make a motion that that get forwarded to the subcommittee for review. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on that motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Great, looks like it passes. And the student activities fee,
Just needs to be revised.
it needs to be revised. So we had some information from the athletic subcommittee last meeting, recommendations for changes in the fees. And so we would refer that to the policy subcommittee to change that officially and then send it back to us for approval. So I'd like to make a motion to send that policy as well. Is
I'll
there a
second
second? Is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Did you ask him?
Abstentions? Okay, motion passes. So we'll be sending that over to you, Mrs. Callis. I told you the policy subcommittee wasn't that much work, and I'm making a liar out of myself. Nothing under unfinished business. We're back to public comment.
No public.
Seeing no public in the room, I'll move straight to public relations. Mr. Vecchia, do you have anything tonight?
I just want to add to what John said about the band. I wasn't able to go out to the competition because we were late getting out of the banquet that
Kelly Russo.
Kelly Russo.
So she has
In fact, she did mention you that you were with the competition, but the Kelly Russo dedication was really, really cool, and she was thrilled. And the whole family was there, including her grandmother. And then the next day, I went down to Providence, to the Dunkin' Donut Arena, to watch the kids. And it was really fantastic. They had a whole section that was dedicated just to Winthrop, and the kids sat up, and they actually set up the band right in the stands. They brought their music stands and the whole bit. They did a great job. They performed during some Pee Wee hockey tournament games, and then they performed between the periods of the Providence Bruins. It was really cool. They did a great job.
Thank you.
Good news is we're going to have a pep band next year for football games.
Hasn't been one for
Mr.
how many years?
Capabianco, anything for you, public relations?
I do not.
Mr. Perrin?
Nothing for me.
I'd just like to wish everybody a safe and happy April vacation. Ms. Callis?
I have the Winthrop High School Parent Teacher Committee is hosting a fundraiser that is a clothing drive, clothing and stuffed animals, towels, blankets, pocketbooks drive. And you can bring your bags to the Larson Rink trailer from April 7th to April 12th.
President Driscoll?
Nope.
No good news from you?
Nothing.
All right. A motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
Second? I'll make a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
You didn't take the break, you
Have a
made
good
it.
night.